What's going on? Will Freeman, RevolutionaryLifestyleDesign.com, talking to you today about self-esteem, how to understand it. My opinion, life is one part competition and one part cooperation. Competition between you, your tribe, and other people and other tribes for their food, clothing, shelter, resources, status, money, women, and cooperation for all the above, including being kind to strangers, being loving, helping people in need. Okay, some people don't want to accept that competition is a necessary part in the game of life, but it is. And then there's some people who are cynical and evil-minded and think it's every man for himself, competition's for the weak, and it's okay to, take advantage, manipulate, commit crimes, all these things. Okay, so, in high school you learn it's either Hobbes or Locke. It's not Hobbes or Locke, it's both. Humans have the capacity for competition and cooperation, and we're evolved for both of those things. Okay, we evolved in these small tribes, and being able to compete with other tribes, other animals, was essential for us to survive and thrive. But it was also essential for us to be able to cooperate with each other. The survival of your tribe depended on whether you could share food and share resources and things like that. Okay, so as a result, our imprint for self-esteem arose from those two polarities in life that we lived with for so long, as we lived in these tribal hierarchies. We've only been living in these agricultural societies and cities for the last 10,000 years. Before that, it was hunter-gatherer nomad tribes. So the two pillars of that self-esteem come from one being a successful competitor, and two for being a cooperative person, also known as a good person. So those are the two pillars of our self-esteem: success and goodness. Okay, success at competition, goodness being someone who is good at cooperating, does nice things, does kind things, is a good person. Okay. Success, when you're being honest, is a competition, and it's an ugly one. When I teach you how to be successful in all these areas of self-improvement, it's always a comparison to those who aren't. Okay, I wish it was different, but it's not. Okay, to get that new client, somebody else wanted that client's money, or some other business wanted that client's money. That attractive girlfriend, you know that a ton of other guys want to be with her, and a lot of them were there before you were trying to get with her. You took her away from a lot of guys who would have wanted her. Okay, success is win-lose scenarios for your competitors, period. Okay, your competitors can survive and thrive, you can survive and thrive, but that's only because they're able to take money from other areas. Ultimately, if you're selling real estate in Toronto or something, you're competing with the other guy for that deal. So it's going to be a win-lose scenario. You can have a business that's big enough where it's not noticeable, or a business like mine where I'm blasting all this information out on the internet, and you might buy my products and my competitors' products. And it's so indirect that it doesn't seem like it. But at the end of the day, it is, that money that you're spending is going somewhere. Even to the point where, I might be competing with you for coaching money or for one of my books with Domino's. Okay, you might spend, or big screen TV, right? It's going somewhere. Okay, so success is always sort of a win-lose scenario. Okay, that first pillar of self-esteem, success, is defined by a competition. It's defined in contrast to people who aren't successful. Okay, being successful is defined by people who aren't successful. Being a winner is defined by people who are losing. Okay, and that's the nature of the game. You can't have a game where everybody's winning. It's not the nature of reality. So winning is defined by losing. Success is defined by people who are unsuccessful. That's the ruthless nature of this competitive part of life. Okay, and it's a harsh truth, but it's a truth nonetheless. And success is something that can't be faked. The amount of income you have, the business, your status is these are all external metrics in the world. And all the NLP patterns or things like that can't change that reality. Okay, I'm not saying if you're not successful, you shouldn't be able to feel good about yourself. But there's a lot of people with who are sort of insecure about their place, because they're not doing particularly well. And this is a real thing. It's a real competition out there. It matters when it comes to money. It matters when it comes to women. It matters when it comes to people's respect of you. It matters when, you're able to travel and get health care and all that stuff. All that comes from being able to compete. Okay, now on the second pillar, we've got success over here, and over here we have goodness. Okay, goodness, in direct opposition to competition, comes from how well you can cooperate with other people or how ethical you are. Goodness is often in opposition to success. It is a daily balance of, do I do the competitive thing or do I do the good thing? But it doesn't have to be. There are plenty of successful people who play the game fairly and ethically. Even though it's win-lose in success, you can still play to win on the field and shake hands after, like some guy beats you for a real estate deal or whatever. Hey, good game. But goodness, like success, is also defined by its opposite. It's defined by bad people. It's defined by unethical people. It's defined by people who can't cooperate properly. So you'll also find a lot of people who are focused on cooperation and goodness, and they sort of look down on people who are focused on success, which is also not fair because, it's possible to compete for success ethically. In fact, you should. You can still be a good person and compete. So that's something that's really important to understand. Okay, you could even extend the pillars of to self-esteem being like material versus spiritual, with the material world being success and competition, the spiritual world being goodness, compassion, loving kindness. But both are necessary within this game of life. Even if you're a spiritual person and you want to be able to help people, well, you need electricity, you need money, you need food, clothing, shelter, all these different things. Okay. So how successful you are in your worldly mission on the material side, the successful side, the competitive side, and then we also have how successful you are in your spiritual mission, loving kindness, evolution of your spirit, getting to know yourself. So there's two poles right there, and both are very important, and both should not be neglected, in my opinion. Okay, you can combine those things, but sometimes it feels like you're serving two masters. So it's really important to be able to find a balance between being a good person and feeling self-esteem and feeling self-worth, as well as feeling successful, recognizing that there's a competition here, recognizing that sometimes you have to be ruthless, and balancing those two forces. Okay, because a purely material person ends up like someone like Jordan Belfort, who, in The Wolf of Wall Street, where these guys are robbing people for millions and millions of dollars on the phone, and then he's drowning himself in drugs because he hates himself, and he's crashing cars, and he's doing all kinds of crazy stuff just to get through the day. Even though he has a tremendous amount of wealth and success, he has zero negative self-esteem, negative feeling like a good person. So a purely material life, focused purely on success, purely on competition, will make you miserable with 100% certainty. Okay? A purely spiritual life, on the other hand, can make you a lot happier. The happiest man in the world, as measured by his brain waves, you can look this up, is Mathieu Ricard, a Buddhist monk who lives in a monastery. He's been living in a monastery celibate for 20 years and does compassion meditation all day. And by his brain waves, these are the happiest brain waves that science has measured. Okay? Unfortunately, most guys, myself included, don't have that kind of discipline. Okay, and trying to live a purely spiritual life in the midst of a big city ends up in poverty, no dating prospects, and loneliness. Okay, this guy was he's a French monk from a wealthy, I think, French philosopher father who moved to the Himalayas and lives in this beautiful monastery overlooking, mountains and all these things. Okay, that's a much more pleasant way to devote yourself to a spiritual life, as opposed to you're trying to be incredibly spiritual, but you're living in a big city, working in McDonald's. You have no dating prospects. You have to work a horrible job and try to pay rent and all that stuff, because you're neglecting the material. Okay, I think if you want to do the purely spiritual and move to a monastery like that, or a Christian monastery, whatever way you want to try and win the game of life and become fully evolved. My hat's off to you. I don't have that discipline. And you probably don't either, okay? And for some people, that path is kind of like a dark night of the soul. A lot of people who pursue spirituality, it can actually be painful. So I feel like there is a middle path to self-esteem. This is what I want to give you. It means pursuing success and women, and eating well, and you can drink and all that stuff in an ethical way, but also making time to help others and pursue your spiritual path. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It can just be giving money to the homeless, or just helping a friend, or perhaps trying to wrap up being able to help people in your business. It's one of my favorite things, to be able to help people, to see the comments, to be able to coach guys. I really love doing that. And when you do it right, you feel proud of what you achieve, you feel successful, and then on the other hand, you feel like a good guy for helping others and being a better person. Okay. And the money can't buy, success can't buy self-esteem, right? If you do all kinds of unethical things and your reputation's trashed, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're going to feel low self-esteem. You might feel successful, but you feel low self-esteem or self-worth. Self-worth can't be bought. Success can be bought. Success can be achieved. It's objective. It's metrics and stuff like that. But self-worth can't. You can't throw a bunch of money at that to feel worthy or to have a good reputation. So do not neglect that on your path to success and personal development. It's a real thing, and it really matters for your happiness. And there's also this helper side that maybe you've been missing out on, to where when you really help people, you feel good about yourself. Okay, so that's the basics of it. There's two trees of self-esteem: success and being a good person. In each of those trees, the more branches you have, the better. So this is the last point I'll make. The more areas you have of self-esteem, the better. For example, like you could be successful at business, but also playing the guitar, and you're also successful with women, and you're also successful in you have a good wardrobe, you have a nice place to live in, or so you have all these different aspects that you've or skills and things like that you've mastered. And then within cooperation, you have different types of ways of helping people, or you've got this very powerful warrior mentality. So like you want to have as many of these different areas of success as possible. So like, the day didn't go too well in business. Well, you know what? You're going to go down to the gym. You're going to go double hard, and you're going to make up for it in that other areas of self-esteem, which is your fitness. Okay. So within those two branches of success and goodness, or competition and cooperation, those are two main branches of the tree. You want to have as many little branches under those areas, so that if certain areas aren't going as well as others, you can go into another area and pick yourself up about how you feel, and sort of re-up on your self-esteem. So in short, I hope you found this video useful. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you want some coaching on some of this stuff, check me out, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/coaching, or check out all my products, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/products. Thank you so much.